Hey you, it's True with a review of the new Momotaro. Things are certainly looking peachy for Sleep with this unit that is basically a water column on steroids. She comes with a high speed of 509 to boot, and she will usually give it a heartful push straight away. That is her instant skill, her second passive that also consumes 2 spirit, and this one exchanges one random, non-sleeping, non-immovable enemy with an imposter. The exchanged enemy will be sent to a random place in line of enemy reinforcement, so an RNG banish. And of course the randomness is there, but the specification that non-immovable enemies are only affected is a good one for her, otherwise she might end up wasting those on the immovable units we see nowadays. That said, there are still plenty of non-immovable enemies left. Now what's crazy is that she can use this multiple times. However, there are some limitations. It is only usable if there are 4 enemies on the battlefield and at least 2 of them are not imposters. Then again, that still means that she could make 3 out of 4 enemy units into imposters. And if this skill is used 3 times within 10 time units, it becomes locked for 200 time units. If she is fully awakened, the lock is only 100 time units, and there is a usage cap of 15 times per battle, which means just with that heartful push, she might just banish 3 full platoons. But yeah, obviously only at most 3 at a time. What can she do afterwards? How about a peach cut that costs 50 time units and produces a nice amount of spirit, 10 to be exact, so basically your spirit will be maxed out after this, and it deals 300% damage to one enemy plus 150% for each time this skill has damaged a burning or sleeping enemy while on the battlefield, for a maximum of 750% total damage. Now to be honest, the scaling on that one might be a little bit slow, but it is a very powerful attack because it ignores damage reduction effects and also any effects of non-boss enemies that would prevent the target from being defeated. It also ignores skin passive skills and the counter stand status effects, as is tradition at this point. And additionally, the first time this skill is activated while on the battlefield, she will immediately get the next turn straight away. However, then this skill becomes usable only if Momotaro's team has 2 or less spirit. So there is a bit of a crisis lock on this skill after first use, which makes sense on the one hand with the plus 10 spirit production. On the other hand, of course, that makes scaling the damage from that attack possibly even a bit harder, given she cannot even use this all the time. Then again, given that she can spam the heartful push, she might just eat up a lot of spirit quickly. But if spirit is low, she could also use her third active skill, which is called Inescapable Love. 1 spirit production, 30 time unit cost, and deals 500% damage to 1 enemy and grants Momotaro a power charge. This deals 700% damage if the target is sleeping or burning, so burn teams better be scared. Or put on some very warm clothes, as I wanted to say, but that doesn't make any sense. Why do they need to be scared? Not just because of what I said so far, because this attack is also not redirected by guardians, so it ignores guardians, ignores the counter stand status effects, ignores skin passive skills, and it doesn't even end there, because if this damage does not defeat the target, Momotaro just exchanges that enemy with an imposter, because why not? You know, after she might already exchange your 3 units on your team with imposters, then she might just do some Inescapable Love and exchange the last the last actual SSR unit on your team. However, of course, this will also not trigger if the target is immovable or if there are less than 4 enemies on the battlefield. It can also not trigger more than 3 times per battle, so there's that at least. But how do I say this? I mean, She has 15 times the Heartful Push. She has 3 times potentially the Inescapable Love with the Imposter Exchange. Afterwards she can still use it, but that effect will no longer trigger. But that means 18 enemies might be exchanged with Imposters, and all of them will be sent to random places in line of enemy reinforcements. Now the only good thing, I guess, if you're facing her is that given that it is random, there is a chance that she pushes back some other imposters who aren't sleeping. And yeah, Inescapable Love unlocks each time Momotaro damages an enemy with another attack. Afterwards it is locked again, so this is not unlocked at first. What that basically means is she probably kicks off with some Heartful Push, does a Peach Cut, will get another turn from that Peach cut, if she isn't disabled that is, and then she can use the Inescapable Love, because she already used an attack in the Peach Cut. And then she will gain the Power Charge, which will enable her to use her last active skill called Peach Burst, her longest one with 80 time unit cost, and it also costs 2 spirit, but it deals 800% damage to 2 enemies, and she will gain Endure from this. But okay, 800% damage to 2 enemies is a lot, but there is a minus condition. Minus 100% damage for each enemy on the battlefield that is not burning or sleeping, but there's also a maximum for that, so max 400% of minus, which means it will deal at least 400% damage to 2 enemies, even if there is not a single unit that is burning or sleeping. Crazy thing is, this is also an execute skill. It also ignores damage reduction effects. It also ignores skin passive skills and the counter status effect. Actually kind of nice, they switched up the order here to keep things interesting in terms of what she ignores, but yeah, she still basically ignores everything that you need to ignore, except stealth, which is relevant given that this is a 2-target attack. But yeah, pretty crazy active skills. But let's move on to her passives. The first one is called Demon Slayer. She is permanently burn immune. Again, burn teams, I hope you had your fun. It's not getting any better from here, at least with Momotaro, because it will not end here. Momotaro is also immovable. She has 30% permanent damage reduction from attacks, which at this point, okay, isn't all that much. If there is a sleeping or burning enemy though, she has 60% damage reduction instead, so that is definitely something. The first time she takes damage from an attack while she isn't disabled, she will have her time units reduced to 0, so she will get the turn from that. So a one-time use counter skin that also takes care of her potentially being disabled by somebody like Kronos, for example, so that this is not wasted. Now remember the attacks I mentioned before that she has, all these 3 juicy active skills? Well, they also have some passive effect enhancing them. Obviously, they do not wake up sleeping enemies. That makes sense for all sleep units nowadays. It also heals her for 100% of total damage dealt, so that is a lot of healing that she can do, probably full heals. She removes burn status effects, including Mega Healing Burn from hit targets. Mega Healing Burn right now is really nerfed into the ground, I have to say. And it doesn't even end there, because the hit targets are also granted the sleep status effect for 200 time units, even if they've already slept. So this is a forced sleep on every attack that she does. Literally good night. Actually looking forward to the good night as well, given that it's 2:40 AM. And there's still a lot of ground to cover and things to do to actually make this video. Flashy Entrance is the second passive. Momotaro is stun immune if there is an enemy on the battlefield that is fire element or has a burn blast or burn drive type active skill. So this is for the burn stun teams, I suppose. Not great news for them either. Now with all the imposters that she can produce, it's only fair that she gains something from them being defeated or sacrificed by any source. Every time that happens, a random ally will have their current time units reduced by 50. Now the cool thing, I suppose, is that this also works for imposters on her own team. So that can be very helpful for sure, and also slightly puts her kind of AT time unit skill into perspective, because she might just get the turn quicker than that. We're not finished yet, because for 150 time units, the first 150 time units that she's on the battlefield, she cannot be defeated by damage, and this includes lethal poison. And each time she takes damage from an attack and survives until after the end of the turn, she will heal for 100% of max HP and be purified. Now obviously this does not purify things like deep sleep, lethal poison, but still pretty good. And after 150 time units on the battlefield, each time she takes damage from an attack and survives, she will heal for 30% of max HP instead and still be purified. This is something we saw as well on Masamune before it got nerfed, but yeah, this is obviously very good to fight against sleep, but also a lot of other things. Speaking of sleep, whenever she defeats any number of non-conjured enemies with an attack, she will grant the deep sleep status effect for 100 time units to the next enemy that enters the battlefield. Deep sleep of course cannot be overridden by burn or sleep status effects and cannot be purified. It can be overridden by stealth or armor or things like that, but still not that easy to get rid of that. Of course there is the requirement that it has to be a non-conjured enemy, otherwise this would be absolutely insane given the imposters that she produces. She could easily get kills and grant the status effect all the time. Now in terms of her AI, the skill prioritization is pretty straightforward. I already explained it while going through the active skills. Heartful Push is usually the go-to skill. Peach Cut when she can use it or has to use it. Inescapable Love to get the power charge. Peach Burst to use that power charge. But Heartful Push has usually the highest priority. And her hate is quite low. It is a bit higher when she has a power charge or when she has survived for 150 time units on the battlefield. It is very slightly higher if there is anyone sleeping on the enemy team, but honestly the hate level is quite low on her, generally speaking. And generally speaking, we go into the analysis section with my 3 AM brain. And for that reason I will try to keep this short-ish. But yeah, honestly a very strong addition to sleep, yet another one after parry. There is also some nice hybrid potential for this unit. You can see a few examples on the screen, a few example battles and teams. And yeah, honestly the Heartful Push against non-immovable units is something to watch out for, especially because of her high speed and her way to get an early turn. I do think it's fair to say that she is a must-have for any sleep team. Water Sleep for sure, Cursed Sleep also arguably a very strong addition for that, possibly in combination with Ryoma. And also Gavine, the Dark Gavine from last year, probably one of the few 2024 units that is still relevant or can be quite relevant at this point. The imposter production that Motomare oh my god, Momotaro. Oh my god, I need to get some sleep. Anyways, yeah, Gavine can unlock the Cursed and super easy with Momotaro. So keep that in mind. Now even beyond that, there is some potential just because she brings so much value to the field with that kind of imposter production, even if her damage output is a bit handicapped if there is no sleep team around her. Not sure I like her so much with the Dark Hibiki, Pinocchio, Poison style teams, but other hybrids are open, including Stun and Burn. Actually, she has some hybrid potential with Burn, interestingly enough, because she benefits from fighting burning enemies as well, not just sleeping enemies, and she has that kind of sustain at least for 150 time units not to die from any burn. And so yeah, to pretty much all teams we can see a world where Momotaro adds value, but there is of course one kink in her armor, and that is none other than Storm Stun units. She is stun immune if she is facing any burn units, but that doesn't work if you are facing a pure Storm team or even just some strong Storm Stun units. Granted, Kronos alone might not be able to do it, but we have right now a very, very strong Storm combo at the top of the SSR World Rankings with Kronos, with new Anya, with Masamune. Granted, Masamune can be put to sleep, but she is immovable, as is Kronos, as is new Anya. The disabling obviously is also a potential issue for Momotaro. Man, I feel like I'm making up her name as I go. Okay, Momotaro. And so yeah, that's a bit concerning, honestly. It will be very interesting to see how that evens out potentially, but given the popularity, it is a bit of an issue. Might be holding her back a bit. But again, this kind of imposter production that she does, not just the imposter production, but the kind of random banish that she also brings with each of these pushbacks is also very important. If that would just be a normal pushback into the next in line of reinforcements, then I would be a bit more bearish on her. But it's a random banish basically anywhere into the reinforcements, and that can be definitely quite powerful, messing up the team comps and especially fighting units one at a time potentially. So yeah, if you run a sleep team, definitely get her if you can afford it. Obviously, you always need to stay above 28,000 soul stones is my recommendation. The good thing about her, and that is also true for any of the other potential hybrid ideas, is that yet again this is a unit that also works quite well at one copy, or also, I mean, not work quite well, that might be saying a bit much, but she can already provide quite a bit of value even at low power, thanks to those imposters, the spirit production from that +10 skill, then the inescapable love is still very strong at low power as well. Of course, there is the 200 time unit lock on hard full push instead of 100 time units, so it won't be used as much. Then again, just one big push or triple push rather might already be something to turn the tides of a battle into your favor. I'm sure is that correct grammar, but yeah, all the units in this new event, Dark Hibiki, Modern Elmina and Momotaro, have some good usability at one copy. Of course, if you want her to reliably take out enemies, get that full awakening, get inspired by the battles on the screen. I gotta be honest, putting this best of together, recording the review, cutting, editing, uploading everything in time for Momotaro's release is taking quite a toll on me, especially after a 14-hour workday. So leave a like if you got something out of this review. I very much appreciate it. Enjoy any potentially remaining fights on the screen. I'm gonna cut the recording here because otherwise I might get imposted at work tomorrow. I appreciate your support and as always, thanks for watching.